Hit live on there for me. Okay. Three, two, one. Welcome to the Antonio Parkinson Project. Today we're asking this question. Is it in the best interest of the child to have both parents equally involved in the child's life? We have a father here with an interesting story on how he was removed from his children's lives. Also, we're talking to an expert. We got the doctor in the building who's going to speak on the effects of lopsided parenting, Angelica. Lastly, we have retired Memphis police officer who has seen it all, and he offers a very interesting perspective, or three perspectives, as a matter of fact, on this whole subject. So don't go anywhere. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be right back. You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project. Welcome back to the Antonio Parkinson Project. We're going to do that again as Nicole walks in. All right. Give me a countdown again. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Antonio Parkinson Project. You're watching the fastest growing visual podcast in the Memphis market. Let's go, baby. Give it up. Man. Look, a year and 2 months and 6.5 million views later. And Angelica, who used to be all shy at Kojak when she came onto the camera.
I was shy before.
Yeah, she's changed a little bit. She's seasoned now.
I was shy.
Give it up for my lovely co-host Angelica Jelly Woods in the building. Let's go, baby.
There she goes.
She is. She's hangry.
Y'all, I'm eating my kids.
Yeah, but pull that mic up though while you're over there.
We need a food sponsor. I'm in here eating graham crackers. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, we do. In fact, I've been meaning to reach out to Keedron Franklin. Keedron, man, if you're watching this, man, we want to test the food out on the show, man. Pull up, man. Bring us something. Angelica is starving. My stomach is touching my back, even though it doesn't look like it, but it is. Right?
We ain't gonna talk about Nicole, Jesus. I ain't gonna talk about when she's walking here with this.
Right. You know, she already be grouchy. She comes off the ropes grouchy. Yeah, y'all give it up for my DJ. That's my DJ Kojak in the middle. Let's go, baby. DJ Kojak. Oh, this is going to be good. Hey, Kojak, I want you to scratch it up for our guest 4 times. 4 times. 4 times. Let's go. Hey, Kojak. Hey, Antonio.
That's what I'm talking about.
Did you hear that scratch?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh,
I like you, Antonio. See, this is Antonio. I don't like him, but I like you. It was something about you when you came to that door.
Hey, Kojak, I heard the scratch.
I heard it too. Turn the volume on.
Okay, we're going to try it again.
Check my ears.
Turn the volume on. Check it again. At the backspin.
In the backspin. You heard that?
I heard it. Antonio. Did you hear the scratch?
I heard it.
Oh, there he is. Yeah. There he is.
my brother.
Everybody out there heard the scratch. I heard the scratch. And, I don't know about Angelica. Angelica's hangry. She can't hear nothing right now.
Not a thing.
Man. Hey, listen.
Hey, y'all, listen. I can only smell.
You can only smell, right? But thank God you can smell because you be coming in. Anyway, yeah.
Whatever.
Man, listen.
She bought some treats though.
She brought her baby graham crackers and she over there eating them up. All of this stuff gonna be on the cutting room floor. We ain't running none of this. But let's do this though. Today we're really asking this question: is it in the best interest of the child to have both parents involved in their life? Apparently not, according to the state of Tennessee and the Tennessee Bar Association, who pushed back on legislation that I ran this week to make judges start in the middle at 50-50. And that legislation also says it is a rebuttable presumption that it is in the best interest of the child to have both parents involved in their life. Let's run that video, Josh. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee. And members, I ask that you remain open in this discussion. And I further ask that you see this discussion from the lens of a child who has absolutely no responsibility regarding what the adults are arguing about, but the children are the victims here. Think about this. Simply because the adults have dissolved or are dissolving their relationship, it does not abate the relationship that the child has with his or her mother or his or her father. God gave a child two parents, and they need both in most cases for balance. When we as a society remove one of the child's parents from the child's life, we take the child out of his or her natural balance. It is the child's God-given right to have access to both parents whenever possible. We know that there has been a tremendous lobbying effort by the Bar Association, who I respect. Their family court division is against this bill. However, I asked the trial lawyers their thoughts on it. They had no issue. I also called and have spoken to several judges across the state, both rural and urban, from across the state, and every judge that I spoke to said this bill in no way binds their hands in regards to outcomes. In fact, this bill actually frees them up to look at the entire picture that speaks to the best interests of the child. And that's what we're here for. The question is, what is in the best interest of the child? I submit to you that a child has the right to both his or her parents, and that is by far, from the standpoint of the child, is in his or her best interest whenever possible. All right, and to everyone that is watching, I want to see if that makes sense to you, right? I think that it just makes common sense that whenever it's possible, we have both parents involved in the life of the child. To me, it just makes common sense. But apparently, the Tennessee Bar Association, which is the lawyers across the state of Tennessee, and in their family court division, sees it differently, right? And so we got a little video of their response, or a partial response, to this question. So y'all watch this video. Okay.
It's low.
It's low as shit, right? All right. Apparently, for some damn reason, the sound was muted on.
They muted you.
Apparently, right? And so, but we will post that video. So
That's
as you know, with this show, when the show is posted on all our social media, we're going to have the entire video hearing, so that you can listen to everything. And it was quite interesting because, man, it was some stuff that was said in that hearing that made you scratch your head. But also here we got Antonio Harvey, right, who is an elementary school principal.
Ooh, God
right,
bless him.
and so he has an interesting story, and it is actually Antonio Harvey. I had a visit to his school one day, and he was telling me what his situation was, which is the motivation for this legislation. So y'all give it up for Antonio Harvey in the building. Let's go, baby.
Motivation. Okay.
Yeah, let's go. So Antonio, tell us your story, man. How did we get here?
All right. So basically, my story is probably a story that you hear a lot about in regards to fathers who are basically equipped to be basically co-parents, but don't have the opportunity. And my story is unique because I'm actually a steward of children. I've been working for 29 years in the educational field as a Memphis Shelby County school employee. I have spent several years in administration. And then me being able to run a school and taking that school from being a school that was failing to bring it to level 5.
Oh, wow. That's
I had a lot of
amazing.
experience working with children. And so during the time when I was going through a divorce with my ex-wife, I had petitioned the court for me to actually get joint custody of my children.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was a no-brainer. I'm an
Mhm.
educator. I know about child psychology. I work
Wow.
with children every day. At the time, working with over 300 plus children every day in the Fraser community, and then being able to support those children in the way in which they were actually changing their life trajectories. And so for me to go into the courtroom and to petition them for that, I felt it was natural. And so as I went to court, I began to see the mechanisms that are actually in control in the family court systems. And so what basically happened was I petitioned the court for joint custody, but I got standard visitation.
Wow.
And so when you think about standard visitation is basically 4 days a month with your children. People think that when they say
4 days a
you're
month.
getting every other weekend, that's a lot. That's only 4 days a month. And so just imagine.
That's sobering right there. Though.
Yeah,
But
4
you,
days.
you went from 24/7 because you said divorce. Now
Yes.
you guys had the children in the house
Yes.
together,
Yes,
and then you went from 24/7 to 4 days a month.
4 days a month.
4 days a month out of
Yeah.
30 days. 4
Out of
days.
30
Yeah, you
And
went from
sometimes 31
24/7
days.
to 4 days. That is, it's,
That is
it's
That's
traumatic.
It's
Yes.
traumatic.
My
Yeah.
question,
Yes, sir.
question is, what was the deciding factor?
So when you think about the court case, they have to think about 15 or 16 different factors that they look at, being the household environment, the
Wait a minute. Before you start naming them factors, I just want to clarify so people understand what he's talking about. Right now, currently under the law, there are 16 factors that they use to determine the best interest of the child. None of which says both parents being involved in the child's life. Okay, but go ahead now.
Yes, sir. So they had 16 different factors, and so as I said before, those factors include the mental well-being of the parents, the financial status of the parents, the household that the parent actually lives in, and things of that nature. And so out of those 16 factors, I really didn't have anything that was against me.
Wow.
I have no criminal record, financially stable, have a consistent career, educated, everything. But what they held against me was that I had a demanding job.
Oh wow.
And they basically said that my job was too demanding.
Now remind everybody what your job was. One more time.
I'm an educator, and so as an educator, you have weekends off. You have evenings off. You have time off in the summer to work with your children. So it is a demanding job, but it's not a demanding job where you can't work with your family.
Wait a minute, but I think it's important to show this whole picture. You weren't just an educator; you were a principal.
A principal, yes.
So at an elementary school.
At an elementary school.
At the time, your children were the same age, around the same age as the children that were in your school.
Yeah, that I was actually working with.
How many children did you have guardianship over during every day as a principal?
So as a principal, I had over 350 some students every day. And so I was just asking for me to actually have stewardship of 2 children, which were my children.
Right.
And so, to me, the scales were not balanced.
Well, and I think this is important to know because I'm visual and I want everybody to see this picture, right? Which is the motivation for the legislation, right? Here is an elementary school principal. Obviously, there's no domestic violence and all this stuff going because he would not be a principal. He would not be in that job, right? Yeah. Now, here is an elementary school principal that has custody and guardianship over 350 kids, 5 days per week. What, 8 hours per day?
8 hours a day.
8 hours a day. How many months out of the year?
10 months out of the year.
Oh, wow.
10 months out of the year. But could only see his own children every other weekend and 2 weeks out of the summer.
How is that even fair?
It's not fair. And so that's why we're here today. And really, to be honest with you, my children are now the age of 15 and 13. And so for me to actually be standing here and talking about this and actually fighting for this is really forecasting. Because I'm not fighting just for myself. I'm fighting for people in the future. Because my journey is about to end in regards to me having my kids as a custodial parent. But I feel it's important that we actually support this particular agenda, because when you look at what's going on in the city of Memphis and you look at the trajectory that our youth are going on, and we have been in the status of single parent homes for a long time without adequate co-parenting, and we see the effects. We see the crime. We see the effects of our children in the schools. We see the uprise in mental health issues with our young people. We see the just the actual physical health of our children now and how it's actually going down. And all those factors relate back to children not having those positive childhood experiences that they need.
I have a question for you. In that moment, did you feel like you failed them as a father?
No, I didn't feel like I failed them, but I actually had a concern. And so my concern was I actually stayed in the marriage probably 3 years longer than what I should have. And I stayed in there because I was scared that I was going to lose access to my children.
We just talked. We talked about this behind the scenes. I said there's so many people who stay, with the baby mom, their wives, their situations because they want to be in the house with their children, or they're afraid of the repercussions of child support. So either not having access to them or child support, so they kind of play the game. They put other relationships on hold. They put their happiness on hold to be able to have. And that just attests to that. And it's just, I don't know. I would feel some type of way to go around a whole bunch of children. How many hours am I good at math? And I can't see mine, but so much. So I commend you because you can still pour into those children and barely can pour into yours due to the system of only having them 4 times a month. That's ridiculous.
And so for me, it's good you asked that question. Because I'm a person that oftentimes I look at situations as opportunities. And so when that situation came about, I said to myself, am I going to stay here and waddle in sorrow and pain, or am I going to take this as an opportunity to take my pain and turn it into something productive? And so then I walked out the boat, per se, and I actually began a fatherhood program called Fathers First Memphis.
Oh, wow.
And so our program is a program where I actually took what I was doing on a daily basis and putting it to use, which is as a principle, engaging our community. And one of the biggest pieces that I saw that were being disengaged with fathers. And so I said, let's go out and start engaging our fathers and helping them to understand how important they are in their children's lives, but also giving them an opportunity to actually go into a school environment and actually support their children and also other children. And so just this past year, we adopted 14 schools in the city of Memphis, schools like Valentine Elementary, Evans Elementary, Alcee Elementary, Cherokee, Crump, all these schools. And we're actually in those schools supporting the fathers to help them to actually be more engaged with their children's learning. Awesome. And when you think about the effects of that, these are powerful effects. Because when you think about the science of it and you look at the data, and it says that when children have both parents in the home, especially fathers, then they are more equipped to succeed in school academically, socially, and also emotionally. You have less promiscuity. You have less violence in school, less behavior problems in schools. All these things relate back to having those fathers in the families. And I know we all have heard about the adverse childhood experiences. And so when you think about that piece, one of the first adverse experiences that you may have is the separation of a child from their parent. And so now that's what we're doing, is trying to fight against that bill, because we're trying to usher in positive childhood experiences.
And that's important. That's important because you rarely hear people saying positive childhood experiences, right? And it's a game, but you hear them talking about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences,
talk about it all day,
time, right?
But you want to be proactive,
right? You know, it's really interesting. It's really interesting. The how hard. Okay, so let me tell y'all how this bill was moving. The bill passed out of the Children and Family Committee in the House, where I am, 7-1, only one no vote, right? Then the bill, as we're moving it, the Senate is moving it. Then the bill passed, passed out of the Senate with 7-1, if I'm not mistaken. And we're talking about conservative Republican members voting for this bill. Senator London Lamar made the most impassioned speech, for this bill, and for having fathers involved in their children's lives. And so you had 3 women in the Senate that voted for it out of that 7, and you had 3 more males that voted for it in the Senate, and you had one that didn't vote for it, and it passed, right? And that's an incredible statement being made. Now, when the bill is up in the full Judiciary Committee in the House where I am, right? And this is 1 day separation. It passes in the Senate, and then it's coming up in the House in the full Judiciary Committee, about 20 something members. Overnight, the Tennessee Bar Association's lobby kicked in so hard, I started getting phone calls left and right from these members that are on this committee who were open to support it, and some who were supporting the bill, right? Who were my yes votes, right? Saying, hey, man, I'm getting calls from judges, I'm getting calls from lawyers, this, that, and other, saying that I should not support this bill. And so that's when y'all hear people talking about special interests, this is what they're talking about, that lobbying effort. So, it's a lot of money behind that stuff. And you think about this, right? One, why would you not want both parents involved in the child's life, right? And why would that not be in the best interest of the child? Number two, you just see this as an upside down triangle, right? You got mom, dad at the top, and you got child at the bottom. Mom and dad's line is broken because they're fighting or separating. But the line from the child to the dad is unbroken. The line from the child to the mom is unbroken. They have completely excluded the God-given right of that child to have access and relationship with both of his or her parents. Based on the fact that the parents are out of relationship. And they were trying to flip the argument on me, saying I'm putting the parents first versus putting the child first. Absolutely not. No. What you think about that? You were there.
I was flabbergasted, to be honest with you, when I heard that the representative said that we should start at zero. And that threw me off, because you're saying now that parents don't have any rights and they don't have any ability to actually support their children. They should start at zero and then work their way up. And so for me, I have a theory about this, and it may not be a correct theory, but I believe that a lot of times a lot of people are operating in the mindset that they want to have a treatment for it, and they can actually make money off the treatment, but the solution is not where they want to be. So you think about cancer treatment. There's a lot of money in cancer treatment. Yeah. But there's probably someone sitting up right now with a cure for it.
So
just
basically,
like AIDS, you get paid out the money.
And I tell people all the time, there's a lot of money in calamities.
Right. Oh yeah, people benefit. Well, I always tell people there's profit in poverty. It's a great possibility that a lot of these kids will end up further in poverty. There is there is profit in the judicial system. These attorneys make money off of fathers or anybody fighting for the custody of their children, right? Because I found it interesting that the Bar Association, right? But there's also a history of policy in place from the federal level all the way down that pushes parents out of the lives of the children. And it started back in the 60s, right?
Welfare.
Yeah, the welfare laws, right? They said if you receive this, you cannot have a father in that household.
I have a question about the bill too. I'm sorry.
Don't forget your thought now.
Why can't it be 50? Okay, like it says, start zero and build up. I feel like everybody, just like trust, everybody should, depending on who, should start on a level of trust. You discredit yourself. You shouldn't start at zero with no trust. But I know some signs aren't like, everybody's not like that. But why can't everybody start at 50-50? In case-to-case basis, like in your case, definitely 50-50, 50-50, and then you go down percentage-wise based on not marking those boxes or disqualifying yourself on both ends, on women and men, because just because they're with the mom, sometimes it sounds crazy. Mom is not always the best fit. You think that because we carry them and all that, but we're not always the best. Women are not always the best solution. They're not. Sometimes they are best with dad. So
the women gonna come for you, Angelica.
It's the truth. I know some. I know some mamas right now who don't need their kids. But I'm sorry, that's just what it is. And 50-50 was in the bill, anywhere 50-50, and then you discredit, you lose your credit.
That is the bill.
So that
okay,
I'm
making sure.
Let me did I
because maybe everybody, it makes it like everybody start off at 50-50, and 50-50 is just whatever.
Right. So the deal is, and I think it's important. Maybe I forgot to to define
The
the
50-50.
presumption,
Yeah.
right? So the bill language says this: it is a rebuttable presumption that it is in the best interest of the child to have both parents in the child's life. And with that, it says it is a rebuttable presumption that, all custody hearings will start at 50-50, right?
Okay.
Now, let me explain what a rebuttable presumption is.
Thank you.
A rebuttable presumption is,
People know that.
right, a rebuttable presumption is simply a starting place absent any evidence.
Yes.
Now, so let's be clear. So what that means is this is where the judge is going to start, and ain't nobody came in before him yet.
Yeah.
Right. Now, when they come in before him, the evidence changes the presumption.
Thank you.
So when the
Okay.
evidence is introduced, if there's evidence of abuse or this, that, and other, then the judge has the full discretion to go one way or the other way, or where they want it to go, right? And so we didn't tie the hands of the judge. We didn't say, hey, judge, it's mandatory that they get 50-50 custody. It's in fact, as a matter of fact, if this law would have passed, I suspect there would hardly be even a huge bump in 50-50 custody or 50-50 shared parenting, right? Because but what we're saying is, look, don't automatically start over here with the mom.
Yes,
like
please.
I think that's what happened with I wasn't. Let me rephrase that. I wasn't there, but don't automatically start over here with the dad. Some people said, well, that ain't gonna happen with the dad. Let me qualify that. And this is a scenario. Let's say, for instance, in East Tennessee, it is a county commissioner who is seeking custody of his child, right? As an elected official, you better believe he knows the judges, right? And so, and so when that custody hearing comes out and the judge just says, oh, well, he has the best, his situation is the best interest of the child, right? Without starting in the middle, it can sway the other way too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so all we were saying is start in the middle, and as the evidence is introduced, then use that evidence, and they had to document it. Use that evidence and document why you veered away from the middle.
Thank you. Okay, that wasn't explained.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, that's not Thank you.
Yeah. And what was surprising to me was when the lawyer from the Tennessee bar, he came up and he said that they were against it because studies have shown that if this bill was to pass, that divorces would decrease, and child abuse and abuse in marriages would decrease. And he said that was a bad situation to occur. But to me, that's a good thing. That if we are saving families and we are preventing abuse, then that should be the end goal. So I thought that was weird that he would actually go in that route saying that.
Yeah, and that it was accepted. But sometimes when these things are being heard, is any excuse will do. Right? It doesn't matter what they say. They're already in a lot of cases set with how they are going to rule on this. But let me ask you this: as an educator,
Yes,
an
sir.
educator, you've been a principal. You got how many years experience educating?
29 years.
A long time.
Okay. Tell me the difference that you see, because you know which children are come from a 2-parent household versus the children come from a single parent household.
Yes. That's a huge difference in some cases. But we know that, just like in my case, my mother raised me by herself, and I think she did a pretty good job. But in a lot of cases, we need their support. We need that support of both parents. And we see those children who actually come to school and they have a lot of emotional deficiencies, behavioral deficiencies, and those things actually surface themselves in the classroom. And so just even on today, I had some situations where a student was having some issues in the classroom, and the first thing that he said was, "I haven't seen my father." And so that actually stood in my mind. I'm saying, "Wow, we were just fighting for this." And then today, it comes out, in a child saying that he wants his father. That's why he was misbehaving.
Can I say something about what you just said? But
Yes.
I know somebody who personally says you know how like when you get in trouble and you act up in class, like what you just said,
Mhm.
they are known to call the dad.
All
So
the
they
time.
seen a repetition like, okay, let me show out because that's when my dad gonna show up.
Mhm.
That's you know, because they're like, I'm gonna send your daddy up there. You're gonna get your tail whooped or whatever.
Mhm.
So they would act out. You'd be like, I don't know why they keep acting up. So I'm like, maybe they act up because they feel like that's the only time they see you. They're able to see you.
And that's true.
And they act up to get that attention. They're seeking attention, not just for anybody, but from their
Their
dad.
And
Yes.
they know that when if they
Sad.
act up, he's gonna come there
Yeah.
and actually have a connection with them.
Mhm.
And so we have had situations like that. But I know that when you have two strong parents, and I can give evidence of that, we have fathers who are actually in our program, and they're pretty consistent. They come to our Dinner for Dads program. They come to our Leader the Pack programs. They come to our Fatherhood Fridays, and I promise you, every one of those children that have those fathers that are actively involved in our program, they have no behavior issues.
Yeah.
They on the honor roll, and they come to school every day.
Yeah.
And so it's a powerful piece. And I can even give you another example. We have Fatherhood Fridays on the last Friday of every month. And I know at my school, Valentine, where I'm the dean of students, on that Friday, we have less occurrences of behavior issues just because we have fathers out there greeting those kids in the morning time, shaking their hand, telling them have a great day. I'm glad to see you.
Valentine.
And when those kids come to our school, it just changed the whole atmosphere, even for the staff members when they see those fathers coming in. So having those fathers and that energy really makes a difference for those children, and it's viable.
Just having a man present in any environment makes a difference. Whether people want
Good man.
Yeah, a man. I said man.
Yeah,
It makes
good
a
man.
difference.
Main stuff.
Man, okay.
Main stuff.
Man.
Hey, Antonio, as we wrap this up, tell people how they can get to Fathers First Memphis.
Okay, if you want to get involved in Fathers First Memphis, as I said before, we have a lot of things going on. We have our Dinner with Dads program. It's on the third Wednesdays of every month at Perkins on Poplar. We have our Fatherhood Fridays that occur on the last Friday of each month at our schools that we're supporting. We're going to have a big one at Valentine on the 25th of this month, and so forth. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can call 901-316-7772, or you can visit our website at www.fathersfirstmemphis.com. Or if you want to email us, you can email us at fathersfirst901@gmail.com. And so we have different ways to get in touch with us. If you want to visit us on Facebook, just go to Fathers First Memphis on Facebook. Reach out to us on Facebook. We have that as well. But we really want to garner this support so that we can actually build out and support Representative Parkinson as he moves forward with this bill again. As he told us the other day, we're not going to give up. We're going to continue to fight. And so we're going to need our army here in Memphis to come together and say, let's support this bill. And we need not just fathers, but we need mothers. We need grandfathers, grandmothers, aunts, uncles, cousins to come together to say, hey, let's make Memphis better and let's support this bill so that we can actually grow that. And also I want to just give another thing that we're actually doing with our organization. We have a diaper drive that we have a sponsoring right now. It's going to be ending at the end of May. As you all know, a lot of times diapers are a major purchase for fathers, especially fathers who are in need. I remember when I was a young father and I had to go buy diapers. I was going to Big Lots and everywhere I could get them, and so forth. And so we're going to be we're trying to get 10,000 diapers so we can build a diaper bank out and start having distributions for fathers who actually need them. So if you want to do that as well, reach out to us on all those different contact opportunities and let us know that you want to support. But we need your support, Memphis, and we want your support, Memphis.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Y'all give it up for
Super
the
dope.
best father. Y'all give it up for Antonio Harvey in the building.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, y'all don't go anywhere because when we come back, we are going to talk to the doctor. She is a licensed clinical social worker who works with both children and adults and regularly, hears these cases. So don't go anywhere. The doctor is in the building. You hit that subscribe button. You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project. Oh, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. I didn't even get a chance to hug my friend. I ain't seen her in 1,000 years. But look,
at myself first.
yeah, no, you look great on camera. Actually, you're killing it. Look, just don't look back there at the camera. Look, yeah, y'all crazy. Hey, welcome back to the Antonio Parkinson Project. You're watching the fastest growing visual podcast in the Memphis market. Let's go, baby. Come on, y'all. We're doing that shit. This is why, though, these types of topics, right? You know, y'all give it up for my lovely co-host who has been darting in and out. She was hangry, but she looks a little better now. Angelica Jelly. Yeah, Angelica Jelly Woods in the building. Angelica, what's that you drinking? What you got?
He said, "Oh, it's Mountain Dew from Sam's."
No.
You can get the meal, or you can get. I'm on a budget. You can get this. You can get this slice of pizza or a hot dog.
Man,
$1.50.
Everybody has a cup.
Yeah, and I asked Nicole to
Cup you up.
Baby Nicole got a whole toot, okay? She got an attitude.
You needed, right? But we got you covered. Y'all give it up for my DJ. That's my DJ. DJ Kojak in the building. Let's go, DJ Kojak. Kojak. Scratch it up for the doctor 4 times, man. For the doctor.
Let's do it.
Let's see this.
Okay.
Oh, she's from Orange Mountain. Let me ask you this. Doctor, is it still Dr. Futrell? Or is it? Okay, Dr. Futrell. Did you hear that scratch?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. 3 fingers round.
She sure did.
Oh, that's 3 fingers down.
Okay,
Two round.
Teach us how to do it.
Down.
Okay.
Okay.
That's how you know she
Look.
really from Orange Mountain.
Hey, she ain't playing with Dr. Narisha Futrell. You know, she's always been my shero. I've always thought the world of her. Even though she be kicking me to the curb and stuff sometimes. She be like, go on,
He never called nobody his shero.
Go on, but no, I just think the world of the work. Hey, tell them how we met. You remember how we met? You remember?
In Nashville, right?
No, ma'am. We met on Macon Road when your son was involved in a little yep, that's right. You remember that?
Oh, trauma.
Right. Back in my fire department days, right? I responded to a call.
Oh my
and
God,
and you know her son, I won't tell you know, I'll let you tell if you want to tell it. Right. Oh, well, yeah. Well, you tell it then.
Well, I mean, you know, this was just one of those situations, you know, things happen and people immediately jump to conclusions, right? So I'm at work and my son, he was coming home from school. He had gotten off of the school bus yet because my voice little, so okay. So he gotten off the school bus and he was walking home and he had to cross over Macon Road in order to get home. And a vehicle hit his hand. Thankfully, it wasn't him, right? He's walking and he's trying to go by, so a car zooms around and hits his hand. So they call me and they're like, your son got hit by a car. And I'm like, what?
Lord.
Hit by a car? That's not like, you know, you don't tell a parent that. But I was only 7 minutes away at the time. I worked very close by. But what happened was a vehicle stopped to allow my son to cross at the crosswalk like they were supposed to. And an impatient person decided to come around and he whooped around and he hit my baby.
Kojak.
And guess who responded to that call?
You
Kirkwood.
did.
It
Came through.
Came through. You know, as a lieutenant on the fire department, you know, and the hero. You know,
And the hero.
Number one, I checked on the young lad. Right, made sure he was all right. Right, and y'all, he was all right. And
He was. Thank you.
And then there was this emotional mom. Right?
I was very hysterical.
So I had to console her. So I had to console her
because I wanted to know where he was. Right, he hit my baby. Where did he go?
Right.
And he was there. He stayed.
Yeah,
he did. He stayed.
But that's how we met.
Yeah,
that's how we met. That's how we met. And I've been her hero ever since, though. You know, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But look, so Dr. Narisha Futrell, first of all, thank you for being here. And it was short notes. I really truly appreciate you being here.
Thank you for
But
inviting me.
we had to have you for this show, right? And what we've been talking about is, I had legislation that would say it is in the best interest of the child to have both parents involved in the child's life. And I wanted to bring you here to speak to, and we hadn't prepped her. She asked me, so this is her first time hearing most of this, right? Speak to in the cases that you hear. You've been doing this for how long now?
You know what? It's telling my age. Let's just say it's been More than 2 decades.
Okay, you seasoned. She's seasoned, y'all. She's seasoned. And so you've seen it all, just basically,
Just
right?
about, just
and
about.
and she is a licensed clinical social worker. So everybody, I just want to qualify everything. In fact, you qualify yourself. Tell everybody what you do.
Well, my doctorate is in social work. I have a master's in social work and my bachelor's is in psychology. And I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in the state of Tennessee, in Arkansas, Texas, and Mississippi.
All right, now, come on now,
Okay.
interstate. That's what's up. Yeah. And so you've seen these cases. Dang, we bumping. Ain't we? Hold on, let me pause.
Your cousin?
Jesus Christ, let me pause for that.
Goodness.
That's
Right.
your cousin.
Yeah, grew up in a single parent household. But
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Betty.
I'm just kidding. But listen, I remember my days of doing that, so I ain't tripping about that, right? And I know you in the Orange Mountain doing it, so
I
right.
definitely did it.
Right. So you what is the difference that you see between children that have as much equal time with parents versus the children that have less time with one and a whole lot more with another?
Well, I mean, even describing it that way, there's a clear imbalance, right? You have a mother and a father in a home, then they create a balance for the child. There are just things that men provide that women, we just cannot provide.
Say it one more time.
There are things that men in the home can provide that women cannot.
Okay.
We can do a lot of things. We can probably do most things, and we think we can do everything. But fathers are needed in the home, and so, and even vice versa. Sometimes, which is rare, but sometimes a child is raised by their father, and the mom is missing. So there's a whole emotional thing that is missing as well. So you see children and they have both parents, there's a bit of a better balance. There's never anything perfect because parents aren't perfect. But when you have one that's missing, there seems to be a lot missing for the kid. And think about just even with two parents in the household, both parents can't be everywhere all the time. So what does that look like when it's one parent? That's even less time that this one parent can be where this child needs them to be in different areas of their lives. So, I mean, we see a lot of children who have a lot of behavioral issues, right? And a lot of that stems from the alienation of affection or the parental alienation that they have to face because there's an absent parent. So,
do you think it's the same with co-parenting? Because you keep saying in the house. Do you see the same effect if the people are, let's say, positively or they have a good balance of co-parenting? Because sometimes they can't be in the home. Even with my situation, we have a blended family. My husband is not obviously in his children's home, but do you see a difference of that if they're co-parenting?
that depends, right?
Okay.
Because it's levels to everything.
Yeah, okay. Let's do these levels now.
Some people claim they be co-parenting. And they don't be co-parenting.
Well, you can have a daddy in the home. He claimed he a daddy. He ain't no daddy.
True.
Because people think that's what we're going to make.
We're
gonna make a turn real quick.
Struck a nerve.
We're gonna make a turn.
That's true. That's
Okay,
true.
go ahead. She was gonna say.
But the positive piece to the co-parenting is if, and you are correct, the parent doesn't have to be in the home. But when I say levels, right, best case scenario, two people are emotionally mature and they decide to have children and they can make their relationship work, not for the children, but because they want it to work and the children get the benefit of that. That's our top, right? Our next level would be, okay, it don't work out. I don't like you no more. I don't want you to stay here no more. You go stay there and I stay here, right? But we're going to co-parent, and we co-parent still with emotional intelligence, where I'm short, you fill in, and vice versa. And the child benefits from that. Then we start to trickle down with these other things. Okay, well, you over there and I'm over here, and you can't see the baby because I don't like you no more. And don't be taking her around him and die. And then it just gets worse and worse. And then, we get the bottom levels where a child is completely alienated from one or both parents for whatever reason. But co-parenting works when people co-parent, right? And that can be difficult because people's egos get in the way and they forget that the child is supposed to be the primary.
Even running this legislation, it was, I had members accusing me of trying to reduce child support and this, that, and other. And I'm absolutely in no form even in that space of child support. I'm in the space because I see the stuff that's happening with our kids, right? And we know that they are out of balance. So I like to walk people through this, and I shouldn't rush through that statement. When God gave kids two parents for a reason, right? If that was the case, we'd all be asexual around here, literally reproducing ourselves, right?
Right.
And so he gave these kids. God gave kids two parents, and now let's shift from the parents to the child's God-given right to be able to have access to his or her two parents. That's a human right to me, right? And it has nothing to do with child support. It has nothing to do. It's just a human right, because again, we said this in the previous segment. The relationship may be broken between the two adults, but it doesn't mean that the relationship is broken between the child and the mother, or the child and the father.
Right. Right.
But sometimes people try to make it broken.
They do.
They bring it.
And it's interesting because the argument, again, y'all, the argument was that the argument from the Tennessee Bar Association was that this is not in the best interest of the child. And I, for the life of me, don't understand how you can say a child having both parents in their lives is not in the best interest of their child, absent, an abusive parent or this, that, and other.
Other factors.
Yeah. I mean,
that's confusing.
It's and we're going to get into this in the next segment because I don't want to jump ahead, but there's policies that have literally driven separation of parents, from each other, and it's affecting the child. I say that child is out of balance when that one or the other is not there in the amount of time, the most important part to me, time, when that amount of time is not given to that child. And so that child misses parts of development, to me, in my estimation. But I'm not the doctor. You the doctor.
It was the doctor to ask you something, even with the parents that's involved. I don't think they're factoring the not the emotional intelligence or the mental state of parenting, because that's a lot for 80% to be on one parent. Right, how many people sit in your chair? And because I'm sorry, I was like, if I had to be a baby mama, like I'm be one of them ones, we're gonna be 50-50. Like soon I'm running the clock. Ain't gonna be no tools, nothing. Like
that's a great point.
We do. There ain't no even days of the week. We're gonna be at whatever 3.5 to make that 7, because I believe you should have equal access, because you almost like letting it be okay for this person to live their free care life, and 80% you just being a weekend parent, and that's a lot to figure out on one person.
Kojak, did you hear what she just said though?
I heard that.
She said you just letting this person live his free life.
I wouldn't be a better baby mama. Like, I know
the motivation is for him not to live his free life.
It is.
By any means necessary.
It is. Listen to me. I don't care. Motherhood, it ain't no hood like motherhood. Okay, record this. It is a very hard task to raise a child. So I always question women, and he gonna clip me for this, that keep their child away from the dad. It's like, you let him get away, like that's not getting him back. Like,
but how stressful is that to women? What are you hearing on your couch
crazy?
When they come in and lay on your couch?
You getting your kid.
Look, this is how I see. And this is how I see our office. When they come in and lay on your couch, right? What are the moms saying that are exhausted from being a single mom?
Well, I mean, she kind of described it like being a parent is another job, right? Just if I'm working and I'm a single parent, I'm gonna say parent, because there are a few fathers that I know that have their kids.
I have my
right?
oldest daughter, right?
And that's a lot of work. So you get up and you go to work and you take your kid where they need to be. When you get off work, you are not done working because your child needs you. Your child needs you to show up for homework. They need you for guidance. They need to, oh Lord, if you got a teenage daughter, she needs emotional support. You got to cook. You got to make sure that the house is in order. And then you crash and then you start all over again. So there is no downtime, which is why it's a great balance when you have another parent that can say, hey, let me do my part. And it's again, it's not for the other parent, but that's where the parents get caught.
Baby, you gonna do your part. You gonna do your part.
But I get where she's coming from, because that's usually where the argument goes, right? It usually starts with, well, I don't want him or her to have my baby around this other person, or you didn't want to be with me.
Them as tools.
You're using them as pawns. And so then it's like, well, I'm gonna punish you by not letting you get your kid, or the opposite of, no, I'm gonna make you get your baby. And this person doesn't want the kid, and they do something
I'll be on that end. You're gonna get your baby. I'm sorry. You gonna get them.
I'd be gladly taking mine, because I'd be scared of the decisions some of these folks be making for mine. So I want mine close to me.
Parkinson, I gotta ask you a question. Did you ever pay child support?
Never. I never had to, because
Kojak, did you pay child support?
I had the children. What you talking about?
Okay, right. I'm asking y'all.
Look, me and Kojak
was seeking child support and never got it.
Okay,
right.
I'm just asking.
No, it didn't work. I always advise people, do not bring the state in your shit if you ain't got to bring them in.
If you can help it, you should. Yeah. And with the way things are moving now, and the bills that they're putting in place now, if you can avoid, then don't. Yeah. But I always say, if everybody keep their legs closed a little longer,
now we're gonna hit a turn.
It might be a different subject, right?
Right.
But you know what I say too? When people talk about their baby mamas and baby daddies, I tell my husband this: don't talk about nobody now. You wouldn't talk about it when her leg was open and X, Y, Z. So I'll let he's not disrespectful. I'm not saying he watching right now. Let me say I'm disrespectful. But we do that. We end up bashing the ex-wife, bashing them, because they do that a lot. They bash them. But they was just fine when Paul was playing between your legs. I mean, don't talk about Paul today. Kathy Sue was it?
Sue.
I'm trying to make sure he been attack somebody. Right. Kathy, she talking about his clickbait to start some stuff online.
Kathy Sue. Let me say this. How does that affect the child when one parent is bashing the other parent?
We're gonna go down the world. You're gonna make me.
It's horrible, because I'll say this. What I try to explain to those parents, if I have the opportunity to talk to one, is that you have to understand you are talking to somebody who loves two different people. And it's not fair for you to tell this child something negative about the person that they love just because you don't love them anymore.
You better.
If the person is not abusive, if they're not causing harm, keep your mouth closed. Because one thing about it, we all grow up and we learn people, right? You don't need to teach your child who the other parent is. They're gonna learn.
Thank you.
Just let them have this relationship if it's not detrimental. If it's not abusive, let's put that out there, because people like to throw out the worst case scenarios. We're not talking about abuse. We're talking about parents who are just going through their own mess. But don't bad talk, and don't allow other people to bad talk the other parent in front of the child. Because sometimes that's the case.
Can I say this too? I always say this. I said, who he was as your boyfriend is different than who he is as a dad.
Absolutely.
Just who my dad is, who my dad as a dad is different who he was as a husband. I thank God I had a wise mom. Not saying I don't know anything about my dad outside of what my dad wanted me to know.
Well, he was a pimp.
Yeah, but I knew that. Or I learned.
And a preacher.
Yeah, and he's a preacher. He wasn't a preacher when he was a pimp, though.
That's not uncommon in the South.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
He's actually from Chicago. Yeah.
Pimping ain't dead. These hoes dead.
But I had wise parents or whatever. I don't know what type of boyfriend he was. I don't know, because my mom didn't.
It wasn't your business.
Thank you. These kids, they be telling all your business, who your boy, who did what. It's like, and we don't have the intelligence to separate, and not take it personal, or kids don't have it, or take sides. We barely can do it. Yes, we barely can do it now, but they're privy to all this information for what? It's just like, and I tell people on the other side, it's okay. Just keep doing what you're supposed to do. And like you said, time tells all things. So they'll be able to see what was what, and hopefully it don't be too late, but be able to figure it out on their own. It's sad, but anyways.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Narisha Trail, how do people get to you?
Right.
Because look, how we gonna get on your couch? Look, I want 10%. I want a cut. Give me a cut.
Just write it down and put it on the tab.
Right, there you go.
let me ask one more question before we
Kojak about to get on your couch in 2 seconds.
What do you say to the parent that feel like that they didn't do enough? It was one parent and they went through it, They did everything, and then make them feel like they didn't do enough. What do you tell them to keep their sanity?
And you talking about the child saying it, or
no,
the
the
child
child
or the child?
The parent feeling like
they're not the
they didn't do
parent.
because they got, like you said, they got to work. They got there's a lot of stuff that fall in the cracks.
Yeah.
And they may feel like, man, I didn't do everything that I could have done. What do you tell them?
Now you're talking as the child has become an adult.
Yeah.
Well, two things. What is enough?
And step up to that microphone. Step up to that microphone while you say
it.
Yeah.
What is enough?
Mm-hmm.
What are you basing that off of? Because a lot of times people are basing that off of something that's unrealistic or an expectation that someone outside of the situation has set. And, advice is easily given, but it's not easily taken. So you have to decide what's enough. And if you and your now adult child are at odds about something, I'm still not the person to define that. You need to talk to this kid and figure out, hey, this kid who's now an adult, where do you feel like I fell short? And be ready to listen and not be that parent that immediately says, I did the best I could. You may have, but you didn't get to decide that was good enough for that kid. And now you're creating another issue by being dismissive and saying that.
They ain't ready for that. Now, you don't hit a turn. They ain't
we
ready for that response.
We in the rabbit hole now. We in the rabbit hole.
They wasn't ready for that turn.
Let me ask you this. Thank you, Kojak, for that question. Kojak just got some free shit. That's what he does.
He ain't got to get on the couch.
Now I can just answer here.
I'll build you later.
Yeah, right. But let me ask you this. Along those lines, how important is it for adults to apologize to their children in those scenarios if that was the case?
It's very important. And because I'm a parent, right? We have to get out of our own ways when one of our children says, this hurt me, this offended me, this bothered me. And you immediately get that feeling of, your feathers get ruffled and you want to defend yourself. Well, you're just going to make it worse. Hear them out, and if the perspective is not what you thought it to be, that can be a discussion, but you shut the discussion down when you immediately say, well, I did the best I could. They don't want to hear that. Not these kids now. We might have been able to take that because we also were taught not to have a voice,
and
right?
Not to ask why.
And not to ask questions and not to get clarification. And then we grow up into individuals who can't make good decisions and can't communicate because we were never allowed to communicate. But that's another story.
Oh boy, you're gonna be a regular on the show, baby.
They ready to conversation.
Look, hey, I think that piece right there is vitally important. But I think that it also speaks to those that adopted that old school way of parenting, right? And where there's no respect owed to these children, right? And let me qualify that. So when you just talked about it, when as we were being raised, we didn't have a voice, right? Because that's a lack of respect when you tell a person that shut the blank up and do what I say and don't ask why.
What you sad about?
Right.
You ain't got
you
nothing
better
to
put a smile on your face. Right. Think about how confusing that is emotionally. You done got your ass whooped, and then
you better not cry.
And you better smile. And you better put a smile on your face, like, damn, I'm happy for this ass whooping. Thank you. Right. That's some crazy ass shit, though, right? And that's what we grew up with. Man, I can't wait to get Kirkwood over here too. Talk about
and then we're gonna go another
we're already in the rabbit hole. We're already in the rabbit hole.
But then there's another line with that. There's a lot at adults, or whatever, or children. They use that as a form of manipulation too. It's like, so how as a parent do you say, okay, is there really truth? And you have to self-reflect, because kids do be manipulators.
Yeah.
They learn manipulation quite early.
They come out manipulative.
Thank you. They and don't be
they come out the womb manipulating.
Don't be in two different households. It could be a manipulating central. Okay, so kids just manipulate. So it's just we don't like to use that word because
we think that it's a negative connotation, but it's not. Manipulation is is a word with no emotions. We attach emotions to
Thank
it.
you.
But babies come here and they learn to do what they need to do to get their needs met. Is that
Thank
not
you.
manipulation?
Well,
Thank
damn,
you.
I ain't even never
Thank
thought
you.
about it like
Thank
that.
you.
It's up to us
So
to
when they
teach
cry-
them to,
Yes.
to do it in a positive
Wow.
way.
Yes, that my daughter
When they
cries with
cry,
her daddy
it's
like a crazy
manipulation.
person. She know he gonna get away with me. She might want to wrap it up.
See, you making it negative still.
Right.
They do, but they use manipulation sometimes to not have self accountability. So it's like a whole difference. Like they rather blame somebody else than look at self.
Right.
Because I know parents that have given children. I've been in the house for transparency, 5 children. Everybody has given the same access, the same opportunities. You talk about anybody in my community, and one of my brothers think my dad is the most horrible person that walked the earth. I'd be like, who? It's like these stories made. It's really weird. It's
His
like
perception is different.
very. I'd be like, who?
But there's merit to his perception. It's not you though, Angelica. It's him. Your perception is different than what his is.
Right.
Everybody besides him.
Right.
Well, I mean, that don't make him.
Yeah, I don't know the dad.
But you don't know what all happened with him and the dad. Is he older than you? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
so
tell-
she
I
just got
tell-
up off the couch. And
I'm the baby. I'm the baby.
Well,
We're like the same.
Oh, come on, doctor.
Oh,
She's
excuse
the
me.
baby.
I'm the baby, but the mama of the family. Everybody would tell you. My brother is like 1 year. We always
Are you
laugh
the
at
only
age.
girl?
No,
she got a
I'm
twin,
I'm identical
identical.
twin. I got an older sister. I got 2 brothers.
So
in
you the baby
between.
by some seconds or something?
By
Yeah, fix it,
hours,
doctor.
hours,
Fix it, doctor.
hours. Mama had me by C-section.
Kojak been biting and he never
He
bites at
never,
the bit
he
to say
never, he
something.
don't never say nothing.
And
Let me
he's
just let him
been
talk.
refraining.
I'm
Kojak,
just
come
saying,
on, Kojak.
I tell my kids, my younger one, you got a different daddy than the older
Yes.
one.
Yes.
That's before I finished, went back to college and got this here, got degrees and all that.
Yeah.
That's when I was in the club here. They got a different daddy.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I don't know the circumstances, right? Our children get different versions of
Thank
us
you.
based off of age, but also off of personality. Like I have 2 and I love them equally, right? But there are things about my son that I enjoy, and there are things about my daughter that I enjoy. We just do things differently. So I'm sure, and they're different. My son is going to describe me much more different than my daughter will. I'm sure. We both get on each other's nerves, right?
Yeah, he gonna start with my hand wasn't hurting. You making all this big deal when the
It's
mirror
always
hit my hand. Right, he gonna be like, you making me look like a wuss out here.
Hey, I wasn't concerned about how he looked at that moment. I wanted to know where that was that hit my baby.
Right. Right. He was about 9 back then, I think. Somewhere around
he
there.
was
Yeah, he was a
small.
good kid too, though. Yeah, but listen, man, Dr. Futrell, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you because we want to send this business your way.
Okay.
Come on, get this bag, baby. Get the bag.
Okay, I'm gonna share the number, but
Lord.
listen, you not my personal number.
Oh,
No, ma'am. The business line. But it's easier to text me because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not good at picking up the phone.
Man,
I am
that's the
working.
truth.
You have social media?
I do. I'm gonna share that as well.
Okay,
So my
good.
business number is 901-443-8895, and my practice is Gihon Counseling Solutions. We are on Poplar Avenue, right across from White Station High School. There are other therapists in my practice as well who can see individuals. My website is www.gihoncounseling.com. Gihon is Gihon. I am on Facebook under Gihon as well. I'm on Instagram under Gihon as well, or Dr. Narisha Futrell. I'm on TikTok under Dr. N Futrell. I'm on Threads. I don't know how to.
Do you do virtual appointments?
I do. I do virtual. Some of the other ladies in my office do virtual. Some of the ladies in my office do evening appointments and weekends as well. So we do a lot. We got, if it's possible, wherever you place this, I can give my LinkedIn account and that anybody can reach any of my services there, including yoga as well. So.
Oh yeah, she be doing
Nice.
yoga
Yes,
and she be thirst trapping on there, but I ain't gonna say nothing. But look, I ain't gonna say nothing to the doctor, but I'll be watching. But I ain't gonna say nothing to the doctor. But look,
it's called marketing, because
Amen.
once
Yes,
they see
indeed.
this story, and then here you go
Yeah,
here.
Now,
You ready
got
for
'em.
therapy?
Clickbait.
Look,
Got
got
you
'em.
ready.
Sign up for this yoga
Got 'em.
class.
What
Right,
motivated you?
got
Do you need
'em.
some therapy?
Right. Man, y'all give it up for the good doctor in the building. Yeah. Man. Oh, thank you so much.
You got a payment plan?
Oh, Lord. You take
I just
Advocate.
put that. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right, y'all. Look, we'll be right back, but don't go anywhere because this next segment, man, you got to hear our next guest. He is a retired police colonel with MPD, right? He is also a father and he's also a pastor. So he's seeing it all from 3 different perspectives. And so when we come back, we're going to bring him to the stage. So don't go anywhere. Hit that subscribe button. You're watching the Antonio Parkinson Project. Ooh, boy. I got one that's eating. Kojak probably done went and took his normal number back. 2.
I'm back.
Right. Look, and Nicole is fussing. I ain't had nothing to eat. You know, Kirkwood is Kirkwood, and Josh is Joshin. Rico is Rico in the bottom. This one right here. You don't even know what you're doing, player.
I know, I'm trying to help out.
Yeah, raise that up. Yeah, there you go. Line him up. And so we ain't got but 30 seconds, but they all bolt. They bolt out of the studio and think they're gonna get whatever they're gonna get done in them 30 seconds done. And it never ever happens. Ain't nobody ever back on time.
Slave work around here. I'm trying to tell you, slave work.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this.
Dry mouth.
Right.
Eyes thirsty.
Right. Give us free. Right. Hey, listen, welcome back to the Antonio Parkinson Project. You're watching the fastest growing visual podcast in the Memphis market. Let's go, baby.
We doing numbers, baby.
Branding. Yeah, man. And so y'all don't forget Mental Health Awareness Month, Doctor, is next month. Next month. Last year, this time, we did every single show around mental health awareness, and
it was dope.
And mental health issues. It was therapeutic for all of us. Right? I'm sure Angelica cried about 2 or 3 times on different shows.
And we officially found out that Parkinson was crazy. I can't wait till we find out what's next.
Yeah. But y'all give it up for my lovely co-host Angelica Jelly Woods, who's over there
on my last trip, y'all. I'm so hungry.
It's so interesting the difference in how, and Dr. Futrell, maybe you can educate us on this, how the attitude shifted from wow to cheese after she had got something to eat, right?
Yeah, hungry.
Right. I'm telling you, we can only stand.
Oh, I like you. See, thank you. Feed me first.
That's Nicole. That's a
Feed
Nicole.
me first.
That's a Nicole thing, right?
She told all the people.
Right. Nicole over there cursing folks out. We can't get no food.
Got a refund cussing out.
It's a whole dichotomy of dynamics
a lot
happening
of things going on
in the studio today. Right?
I really thought it was going to be some hot wings.
We usually do.
All I'm seeing is chips and dip. And I'm like,
welcome to slave life.
Is that all we got?
Yeah, that's all we got right here. We got chips and sauce
today, huh?
Where's the sponsor?
We got a budget for food. I don't know.
Tag your favorite restaurant. Tell them to sponsor us.
The Mexican restaurant.
She did. She cursed them out.
Right. Oh Lord.
Over shredded and grilled chicken, all over grilled and shredded. I can get no time.
Where's Nicole at? She lives.
Why you?
She said she right here.
Y'all give it up for my DJ. That's my DJ. DJ Kojak in the building. Yeah. It's interesting, Kojak. Before we come to this scratch, it is really interesting that Nicole. what dang? Do I need to give you the Heimlich maneuver? No. Hey, I wish you, Josh. I wish you went to that shot. Dang, Josh, you should have caught that shot.
Yeah,
you should have caught that shot. But yeah, man, it's interesting that that we're having this conversation, right? And about custody, right? And is it in the best interest of the child to have both parents involved in the life of the child, right?
Yeah.
And our next guest,
come on,
his name is, we call him the Colonel. We call him Colonel Kirkwood, James Kirkwood, right? Colonel Kirkwood, and I let him tell it. Did a few decades on the Memphis Police Department. But that's one perspective of seeing, if children are in or out of balance. But he's also a pastor, right? That's another perspective lens to see it from. But he's also a father.
Them a lot of lenses.
Right, and so that's
Yeah.
another lens.
You
for
might be
us to see it
overstimulated.
from. So y'all give it up for the good
Give it
Colonel.
up.
Colonel Kirkwood in
Give it
the building, baby. Yeah. Colonel Kirkwood.
Am I gonna get my scratch?
Okay. Let's Kodak. Requested scratch.
Oh God.
Oh, he practiced.
This don't ever happen. It's the first one ever.
Man.
Oh God, he
One
he
time
did a
for the
face
fans.
and everything.
One time for the fans. One time for the
Wait a
fans.
minute. Kirkwood, did you hear the scratch?
I didn't, but it was good.
He asked for it. He asked for it. Didn't even hear it.
Airtime. Right. Okay. Kodak, give it to him again.
Okay, here we go.
Apparently,
Let me turn it up.
Right.
Oh God.
There you go. See that?
Okay, did you hear the scratch that
I
time?
got that one.
Oh, yeah,
He gave
I
his
got
all.
that
He
one.
gave his all.
He's a
Yeah.
Puerto Rico.
Yes, sir.
Look at him.
Yes,
He
sir.
gave his all.
Oh, hey, Kodak, I think he manipulated you. You know, the doctor was just
The
talking
doctor
about
just-
manipulation.
Yeah, it's not a bad
He
thing.
wanted
It's not a
two.
bad
Yeah.
thing.
He said the doctor got 2 scratches, so I need 2 scratches.
Yeah.
Manipulation happening. Out of the womb, they start manipulating.
Man, we
Right.
learned something today.
Right.
Yeah, I told you. I already
Yeah, we
know.
learned something.
Manipulating
We definitely
jokers.
learned
I already know they are.
You know, and that's what we do here at the Antonio Parkinson Project. We entertain,
Manipulate?
but we educate more than anything.
I thought we
Right.
manipulate.
No,
Damn,
but
you know.
only
Damn,
certain,
that's what we do.
only certain members of the team manipulate. Right, yeah. I should have asked the doctor, does manipulation belong more to men or women? Who manipulates the most? I should have asked her that.
Women.
Yeah.
Oh, we do. We do.
Yeah.
I don't care, doctor.
Okay.
Yes.
Y'all,
You
okay.
have to make a turn. Thank you. I already know.
Hey, Doc, you got anything that for group ADHD that you can prescribe to us as a group?
Put it in the
Man,
put it in the air.
Right, just spray it.
Let some
Spray it
smoke out.
over, just spray it over us. Right.
Uh-uh.
So Colonel Kirkwood, thank you. First of all, thank you for
Yes.
being here. Truly appreciate you, and truly appreciate your perspectives. You know, when it comes to these children. Now, let me say this too, y'all. I've worked, had the distinct pleasure, rather, of working closely with Colonel Kirkwood when he was the precinct commander here at what was then Old Allen Precinct and now is Austin Peay Station. And when I say, excuse me, when I say his heart is truly in the betterment of quality of life for the people of Memphis, and he works, he volunteers, and you know that's how we base it on, right? You know, there's one thing to get paid to do this work, right? But it's another thing when you're giving freely of your time to do this work because you truly care. And so, Colonel Kirkwood, is it in the best interest of the child to have both parents involved in their life?
Yeah, that goes without question. You can't even argue that. And we see it every day. We see it every day. And I think one of the most heartbreakingest thing for me as a man is when I would sit before young men who I know are in trouble. All right, this boy's finna go to jail. And you sit there and you talk to this boy and you begin to give wisdom and insight. And the boy look at you and he says, and nobody never told me that. And I'm like, wow. All right. You know, that's why he's in trouble. And so let's be realistic. We need fathers, children, boys and girls. I hate it when I hear people just say boys need their father. Because I'm a father of 4 girls.
Ooh, you a girl dad.
I'm a girl dad. And girls need their fathers also.
Yes.
Both
Very
children
important.
need their father involved in their lives. And it's real crucial. And to have it, to be absent of it, it's going to be a problem, you know. You know, you got to make it up some kind of way.
Right. What are some of those problems though that you've seen firsthand, and you know, from your perspective as a police officer?
Oh man.
Yeah, and you're on the Antonio Parkinson Project, so you can be uncut here, and you're retired, so you ain't got to answer to the police department.
Well, I'm back now.
To the PIO.
Yeah,
You back?
Yeah, I'm back now. Really, what you find is just kids who tend to be a little bit more rebellious, right? When authority is speaking, they tend not to hear it, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, he don't understand the voice of authority, because he hadn't grew up with it. He hadn't seen it. He hadn't heard it. You tend to find them very, very disruptive in school. You tend to also see that, you know, when you look at statistics, they tell you that most of the kids who are getting in trouble are coming from a fatherless home.
Let me qualify that. 70% of the inmate
70?
population in the state of Tennessee come from homes where the father was not present.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, and that's a big 70%. Right,
that's huge.
Now, when he threw out the 70%, you got to realize this here. When you look at black males in prison, about 80% did not have a father involved. All right, and when you look at grown men, when you sit back and you listen to grown men tell you and speak about, I miss my daddy. You know, having daddy issues, you know, that tells you, you hear daughters saying, I didn't have a father. That tells you that this person needed that. You also find a lot of fear, right? Anxiety, because you don't have a father to just protect you. My daughters were so confident that they daddy had them. When the teacher said, I'm gonna spank you, they looked and said, no, you're not my dad. You know, they had a covering, they had a support. And so they weren't fearful. They didn't have a lot of anxiety. When you look at kids without fathers, they tend to have a lot of anxiety. They be fearful. And when I say no father, I'm saying no father and no man. All right, no strong grandfather, no uncles to take up that, void. No godfather. I was blessed with a godfather growing up who took up a lot of void in my life. And so you tend to see it. You see bad grades, bad conduct, and you know it. You know it because, hey, no father. When you look at kids who have daddy, you can say, man, I'm telling you daddy. And they be like, whoa, all right. You know, and you hear moms, I've seen single mothers say, don't worry about it, I'm gonna tell his dad. And boy start, girl, they get in check real quick. Because that parent, that father is there, and he brings a certain authority. He brings a certain balance, a foundation in that kid's life that that kid needs.
You know, it's interesting because it's funny you said that, I'm gonna tell your daddy, right? You know, me and my brother, we used to act like, you know, when our stepfather was in our life, right? We used to act like he whoops the worst, right? He whoops the hardest, right? But in reality, he whooped with a belt. It wasn't the hardest. Mom whooped with the extension cord. That was torture, boy. You like, man, you be doing an Indian dance around there, right?
Right. Josh, like, what is that? What is that? What's extension cord?
Right. But I will tell you this, you know, along look at the doctor looking at it like, you was abused. Right. But I will. Don't act like it's just me because I know you.
I got one
mom.
switches and everything, please.
Right. But I will say this though, and I think this is important to note. You know, when my stepfather and my mother separated, you know, our life went to hell in a handbasket. You know, that's when we experienced, you know, the homelessness. Shit, I was out of the house at almost 16, and you're out on my own, literally, right? And you know, of course, I went to jail. We know that story, right? Went to jail at 14 because I was going to shoot some kids at the school. But it all happened, and it happened so fast. As soon as that male figure was out of the house, and I'm giving it back to you, Colonel, but. And I tell people, you know, I always say this. I ask this when I speak to groups. What is the job of the black male in our community, right? It is to protect the women and children. That is our job. And everything else falls under that. Financial, education, so on, all of that stuff falls under that. It all falls under that. And so when that protection was gone, doctor, you are now exposed to the wolves. And who are the wolves? These mama's boyfriends, you know, the ones that's looking at the kids, eyeballing the kids, getting close to the mama so they can, you know, do this, that, and other, and the streets, right? The young boys' friends who don't know shit, but he's taking, you know, instruction from, right? The gang leaders, you know, this,
the person
that, and
who's
other.
Gonna give you some money,
right?
You broke, you need some money, but this guy is gonna give you some money, but he has ulterior motives,
right? Them alternative lifestyles, all of that stuff, kind of stuff is what is out there when that mama and those children are unprotected.
I tell people all the time, when you look at the kids on the corner begging, all right, you see all these boys begging, right? And you be like, man, what in the world's going on? What's really going on is they have no father, right? they lack money, all right? Because most boys who grow up without a father grows up in poverty, all right? The father's not in the home. There's no two incomes in the home. You could have two people making $30,000 a month, and now you got $60,000. You done went to low middle income all of a sudden. But that absence of that money, that $30,000, and you got 4 kids, that's going to be very, very difficult, all right? Especially with the rental prices that we have today. That's a whole nother project. But when you see it, you see kids who without fathers tend to have a lot of poverty. Those kids who got daddies, they ain't, look, my daddy just, you know, did you sell candy for your daughter? Did you buy the candy?
I bought most of the candy.
I bought the candy.
Man, right.
I
selling
bought the
cookies.
candy.
Kojak sold something to me though, man, and I ain't never received it to this day though.
Look at Kojak looking. Look
Sold me,
Kojak.
so I ain't got the candy yet.
But they always,
Yeah.
you know, I have a granddaughter in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Granddaddy, all right. I'm selling candy. You know, you sell this candy for me. And her mom and I were told her that granddad don't sell candy, he gonna buy the candy. So I bought the candy, like you go and sell it somewhere else. There go your candy. And she wins, all right? Because it's like, hey, but how was she able to shine like that? All right, was because she had a covering. She had, my daughters had a father, and she has now their children have a grandfather, and that's the importance. That's the gift that God gives to men. We can become fathers, and then we become grandfathers, and you get to really love as grandfather, and you get to pour in children's lives. Just in so many different ways, without the stress, of trying to, without the stress of all that discipline, you just get to encourage and just pour in, and that's another thing that children without fathers tend to be deficient in, and that's self-esteem. Right? Yes, fathers tell you you can do that. You know,
my dad made my head real big. Okay,
yes,
you can run game on me. My dad ran game from day one. Okay,
kids without fathers tend to be unsure. You know, because you don't have a voice telling you you got this. You got
building
this.
that esteem.
Yeah, and you got to realize this here. Had it not been for God on our side, who's whispering to us every day, you got this. You can do this. All right. That's how important a father is for a child. A child needs to hear, you got this. When the mama said, the child needs to have a backup. All right. So somebody else, another voice saying, then your mama tell you, you got this. You got this here, boy. All right, you got this. When kids get that, they tend to go well. All right. So when you look at data says kids who go to college, 70%, all right, tend to come from homes with fathers, or a child that has a father that is actively involved in his life, whether he was in the house or not, but he was actively engaged. Those kids, when you see on college campuses, a lot of those kids, the majority of those kids is coming from 2-parent homes, right? Where parents really are involved in their lives. And you'll see it when they moving them in, all right? Go to college and watch Moving Day. All everybody is taking all this stuff up and everything. That's the power of a father.
But you also go to college moving day and you see these daughters and the mama moving, trying to lift this stuff up the stairs or into the elevator, and that's kind of disheartening, right? But I want to ask you this, Kirkwood. You're a little seasoned, right? And so you remember the days of the movie Claudine. Did you ever go see Claudine?
Yeah,
man, that was one of my favorite movies, right? It's best soundtrack ever. Best soundtrack ever.
Right.
The Makings of You. Curtis Mayfield produced that soundtrack. And Gladys Knight in the Pips. Man, but listen, in that story, they talk about, the welfare man, right? Keep away from him, Mr. Welfare.
Mr.
Right?
Welfare man.
Because those policies were created back then, right? That said, if a mama receives assistance, welfare, right now today we call it TANF, it's a fancy name for it, but it was food stamps, right? And any government assistance, the father could not be in the home. Right. And so I was explaining to my Republican colleagues, as I'm working this legislation, listen, it is policies in a lot of cases that have created this monster of keeping these parents from being involved in these children's lives, right? And the further you push any parent away, the harder it is going to be for that parent to be involved, in that child's life. And I go back to the segment I keep on, and I want to drive this home, and I hope people repeat this. when you are missing one parent, I don't give a damn if it's the mother or the father. The child is out of balance.
Yep.
And if that child grows up out of balance, like not respecting authority, and we all know those examples when kids in there cutting up, soon as dad step in there and say, hey, get your ass in that bedroom, go take a bath.
You ain't even gotta say nothing but hey.
Yeah, and look,
hey.
Man, they gone, right?
Yeah.
They're gone. And so then when you have children that are out of balance, they grow up to be adults out of balance, then you really got a problem. You got an issue, right? And let me qualify that, and I'm gonna give it back to you. You think about, okay, let's here's a scenario, right? Little young teen, he's 16, right? Got a little first piece, right?
Oh God!
And then look, he done got on. He done got. Look, you know how fast y'all look.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Bam!
Please?
Right. Two of them out of balance. The fast girl and the boy that just getting it. So now he done got on, and now here comes another teen that might be a dope boy, and he hits the girl, right? You know, she give him something, right? And then
It's the same girl.
same girl,
Dang.
but out of balance though.
Oh,
Out of balance,
okay.
right?
Right.
And but then the dope boy puts it on Facebook. Man, I smashed Lil Earl's girlfriend, and now watch this. Out of balance, right? Because he has not grown up in a balanced household. They tend to emulate the responses, and check me if I'm wrong, doctor. They tend to emulate the responses to crisis that they grow up seeing. Now, if the response is an emotional response, right, some will respond emotionally. When I always say that when there's a balance, you get the emotional and the logical, right? So now the scenario is on Facebook. Your girl got smashed. Everybody talking about you, right? Instead of that logic kicking in, saying, "Man, there's 1,000 of them out here," right?
Yeah.
The emotion kicks in, and you walk up and shoot the dude that smashed your girl.
That's emotion and pride. But yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, doctor. Am I?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take the maybe. Right.
Well. Here's the deal. And to your point, what we're seeing today is a lot of behavior that is being mirrored in social media. All right, it's in movies. All right, if you look at all the drama, games. Grown folk drama, everybody going at each other,
reality shows,
and so our children are learning. This is how you handle conflict,
right?
All right. This is how you do it. We have to be honest about this. You know, when you look at all this bang bang shoot 'em up, everybody got a gun, everybody's shooting a gun, and then you give it to somebody who don't have logic, all right, who don't have clear understanding, and he hasn't had anybody to model. All right, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, "Model the perfect and upright man." You're supposed to look for good examples to model. But if the child has no good examples to model, all right, then the child model the behavior he sees. All right, he models that behavior.
Is that a maybe, doctor? Is that a maybe also? Okay.
You know, so
you got stamped.
Right. So most of our boys, most of our kids that we are looking at is modeling the behavior they have seen. All right, and I'm this guy who says, now I'm gonna bring it back to here.
Bring it back.
He is modeling the behavior because we have accepted the behavior. Right, and we sit back. Those of us who don't agree with the behavior, we just be quiet. All right,
that's important.
Because
and
to
talk
say
about them on the
something
phone with
about the
auntie.
behavior, all right, you could get attacked. All right, for you to say, these folk is done. Listen, you lost your mind. You kidding? This behavior is out of order. All right, for mama, you can't do this here. Dads, you can't do this here. To say that openly, you could be ridiculed.
Man, ask Antonio, the principal, how many times parents then came up there and probably, acted a fool with him because they kids was out of line.
Yeah, you'd be like, there go the problem right there.
Right, see,
and
then so we see this bad behavior going on, and usually there is no father involved, or if there is a father involved, he's a part of that behavior also. All right, he's a part of it. A lot of the boys you see joining gangs, daddy was in gangs.
Same gang.
Daddy was in prison. All right. And so that boy is absent of a father. All right. Even when he comes back, all right, because if we look at boys, the children the foundational years, all right, is when a kid's identity is formed, all right, you know, and it's going to take some years for him to reform his identity, you know. And so if we looked at, if this kid is 8, 10, he done grew up with his identity. If I come and get him and take him to my program, all right, without his mom or dad coming into the program, I've just had the kid, all right, and the kid is, I'm pouring into the kid, and the kid is getting it, you know. But when the kid get home,
say that.
"Oh, you don't take that on out of here," you know. And so
that.
now the kid has to wrestle who's right.
That's like being in a 2-parent household.
Yes,
one will go for one house, one for the other. It's the same difference.
So we have to own this. I think the downfall of fatherhood came not only with systems, but it also came with us agreeing with the system.
Man, say that. Did y'all hear that?
We agreed. Yeah, we agreed with that. We agreed with saying this. I hate this statement. Ain't no. I'm the dad. You know, for mamas to say, I'm your dad. I'm the dad.
Mama and the dad.
I'm the mom and the dad.
Listen, my sister used to always say that, and my cousin said the most profound thing. He said, he said, this is what I need you to do. Your son don't need no daddy. He just needs you to be a good mama. When he said that, I said, now you said a whole, he said, you don't need to be the daddy and the mama. You just need to be a good mama. That's it.
But he need a daddy though.
But I'm saying, but there's other people around him. He has I just need you to be a good mama. You ain't got to be both.
Influence around
you can't be both.
But
you just got to be a good mama.
When we buy into that, what I'm saying,
they celebrate Father's Day.
When you're
That's
not
big
celebrating Father's Day, and you don't celebrate fathers, all right? I tell my daughters, I tell my sons, my nephews, my godsons, don't marry a woman who don't celebrate her dad. All right? Don't deal with that. All right. But I tell my daughters, don't marry a man. Don't deal with a man who ain't celebrating the women in his life. If he ain't celebrating his mama, he ain't finna celebrate you. All right. If he still got issues with his mama where he ain't forgave her, he ain't finna forgive you either. All right. So leave that alone. He need to go see the doctor.
And what's the doctor information she hear right now?
Go see the doctor. All right. Go see the doctor.
But listen, man, go ahead, Kurt.
Fatherhood,
wrap us up.
Fatherhood is absolutely critical, and it is truly the one missing element in our community that has to be put back in place. And there are organizations out here that's doing it. You have what is Affirm, a father's influence really matters, and they're working to pull. It's the most prettiest thing to see, beautiful thing to see. A room full of fathers working with their sons and their children's mother, because you can't say baby mama with Affirm. You have to say your children's mother. Just really put them together and to really bring fathers back.
Affirm, Fathers First, Memphis. Definitely.
The police department is finna bring on a project called Parenting Cafe. Reason why we chose it was because it had a father's piece. Whereas you put these things in place to help fathers, come alongside fathers to help them to be the heroes in their children's lives. Right. Long go today is for organizations to be the heroes. All right. Organizations should really go after making sure that parents are the heroes in their own stories and not other agencies or anything like that. But, you know, when we do this here, when we realize, Parkinson, I didn't know about your legislation, I would have liked to come up there and support that because it's crucial. We know in the Black community that the absence of fathers have paid a great price in our neighborhood. And there's a scripture that says, if you want to take a house, bind the strong man. You bind the man and
that's right.
But that's why they're under attack.
That's right.
Like
everybody's unprotected.
A Black man is under attack more than anybody. I'm sorry.
And so, but we have to be the ones. We have in our community, even if they don't pass the legislation, we have to come forth and we have to begin to set a precedent. No, this is how we roll within our community. Father, daddy is important. He is just as important as the mother. All right. Absent either one of them, you 50% short. All right. You can't go through life being successful 50% short. While we have stories of those who have, right? You know, because sometimes dad ain't there and you build a resilience. You know, you can become strong. But you can't just, that ain't the whole matter of the story.
That's the exception.
Right? That's the exception. And so we have to really focus on making sure that we support fatherhood, that we push fatherhood, and we push fathers being involved I went through a situation once, and divorce, and it gave me every other weekend, and I fired the attorney.
Right.
I'm like, no, you ain't. No,
Right.
not me. No.
Right.
And things changed. Things came out for my good, and
Right.
I was able to get custody. But at the end of the day, all right, I had to fight for it. But
but you shouldn't have to, and
I
that's the
should-
point
yeah.
of the
Spend some money,
legislation.
too.
And look,
Money.
Kirkwood, which one of your 1,000 organizations you want them to be able to reach out to and get in touch with you?
Today, I'm back with the police department.
Okay.
Chief Davis called me back to build partnerships within the community,
Okay.
so that the police officers, when they're out here working, they have tools in their toolbox to refer.
Right.
Because when police are called, they're called in times of trouble, like you were called when an accident.
Right.
You need to have information ready to give mothers or give
Some
fathers.
resources. Yeah, that's a good
Hey,
idea.
you can go here.
That's
This
a good
program is
idea.
happening. This project is happening.
Right.
This place
That's
is
a really
happening.
good
This
idea.
is a good counselor right here. They got a sliding scale.
Yeah.
They might even do something free.
Right.
That is really
Right.
good.
You have a sliding scale? All right,
Right.
Doc
Oh,
has a
that's
sliding
nice.
scale.
Right.
And so,
right.
officers
I'm a
need
slide
that
in there myself.
information. Yeah, but officers
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
that information
Had those
because
results.
when parents are in crisis, when they are just frustrated because
Yeah.
kid won't go to school,
Mhm.
kid won't wake up, kids got a problem, then, hey, while officers is trying their best to get the kid motivated to go to school, officers need to have, this church around the corner has a teen project that's going on, has a men's. Ricky Flores, they got a husband institute.
Leon Jones.
Yeah.
With Friday night.
Friday night
Yes,
basketball.
nice.
So
Yeah.
get your kid over here, and they're gonna help you with this here.
Right.
Cause whether you're a mother, father, either you're in a 2-parent home, you still need help.
Right.
Yep.
Y'all give it up for
And the
Colonel
raising
James
children.
Kirkwood in the building.
A village.
Yeah. Kirkwood.
Village, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look.
That's
Hey,
good.
we're gonna wrap it right there. We will be doing. I do want to announce this before we get out. We will be holding a town hall meeting. That's going to be not a town. We are not going to call it a town hall meeting. We'll be holding an meeting outreach to educate people about family law. That's everything from DNA, paternity, custody, child support, and everything that comes in that bag, right? And it's going to be hosted by the Antonio Parkinson Project. So it's about a month away. We hadn't got everything set, but we will be talking about this every single show until this event happens. And we want
What
you
you
to come
need
out.
us to do, Antonio?
Give me some money. Give me my money.
No, about
Close the door.
the legislation and all that.
He said he ain't got no money. He can
We'll
help.
we'll talk about that offline. So
Okay.
but I do want y'all to open them bags, right, and help support this thing too, and how we're going, what we're going to be doing, because we're actually going to do a tour across the entire state in regards to the importance of both parents being in the life of the child. So y'all give it up for my team. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next week. You've been watching the Antonio Parkinson Project.